Welcome back here to another episode of the Easy Money Sports Podcast. Of course, me myself as always, Sanders here. Got my guy Dupree here with me.
How you feeling, man? I know your boy's playing right now.
You know,
your boy's playing right now.
Hey, man, I'm peeping. You know, I'm staying quiet because part of me is like, dang, Arizona. It was supposed to, but then I'm
That's
like,
supposed to be the
well.
deal.
But I'm like, hold on, let me be quiet because we still got handle business against Alabama. That's a very high powered offense. They can snap. You know what I'm saying? They can be on their twerk, bro. It's madness. I can snap in any moment. You know what I'm saying? They be Alabama be on it. And then I'm looking, I see UConn, and I'm like,
They looking good.
bro, who the hell gonna beat them? You know, I'm staying quiet right now, though. I'm staying quiet. So, but it's crazy, bro. I mean, shoot, we moving along. Opening day, well, for some, I don't know if everybody played. Did everybody play today in
No,
MLB?
I know
No,
the Braves got pushed back to tomorrow.
to tomorrow.
Game one
Okay,
because of
got
weather.
you. Because of the
They
weather.
playing up in Philly.
Mm.
You see my feet.
I'm peeping it. Yeah.
Go with D1.
Go D1. Hell yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Phil Hudson, man.
There you go.
Golly, boy. Golly. Man, no, hey, all time, those slicker classic video. You can't go wrong with any one of his jumps, bro, for sure. But yeah, man, as y'all see, we not a lot to really just, too much to tap into, but I mean, we going right at it with the NCAA tournament. We moved along here. Sweet 16 going on right now as we speak. Two teams have already punched their tickets to the Elite Eight for Saturday. That being the defending national champions, UConn Huskies. Also, a big upset already as well. Clemson moving on to the Elite Eight for the first time since I believe they said 1980, going to the Elite Eight after defeating Arizona 77-72. Obviously, two games still going on in progress right now between Illinois and Iowa State. And then also you got Alabama, North Carolina. So both of those games with 4 teams trying to punch 2 tickets to fill up one half of the Elite Eight. And then of course Friday, tomorrow you got like over in the Midwest region, you got Purdue going up against Gonzaga, Creighton going up against Tennessee, and then in the South you got Houston taking on Duke, and I believe it's Marquette, and the lone double-digit seed that we got here in the tournament left, which is North Carolina State. So if you look at that, obviously now I believe the ACC is now either 8-0, 9-0 in tournament play. Well, no, I'm sorry, 9-1 because you got to count Virginia losing. But man, moving along with Clemson with that big upset win over Arizona, man. They had 3 guys in double figures. PJ Hall has 17 points. Chase Hunter leading scorers all with 18 points. Clemson really didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but man, Arizona couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, especially from deep, man. They were 5 for 28 from 3. Caleb Love 0 for 9, couldn't get a single shot from the 3-point line. 5 for 18 overall, just couldn't get it going. The whole team couldn't get it going. And there were times where they were able to grab the lead. Clemson would fight right back and take the lead and extend it back to 6, 7, 8, and it was just when it came down to it, man, Arizona just couldn't get the stops against Clemson, man. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked are you with this outcome with Clemson pulling out the win over Arizona? Because, I mean, let's just face it, right? When the bracket got set out there in the West and we saw how it was set up, we thought, okay, well, if seedings hold up, we could potentially see RJ Davis versus Caleb Love, to see that happen, and it was close, but it doesn't happen that way. So, man, how did you see this one, the way it played out?
I wasn't able to watch it. We just got out of practice. And when we got done with practice, Clemson was up by 3 with I think 30 seconds, and got a turnover fast break and turned into an and one, which ended up giving them the 4 point lead. They converted the and one, and obviously ended the game 77-72. And I'm looking at the stats right here, man. You talk about Arizona not being able to buy a bucket. They out rebounded Clemson. Arizona out rebounded Clemson. Had 17 offensive boards to Clemson 6. Clemson had more assists, but Arizona had more steals, more blocks. Clemson had more turnovers. Arizona had more points off of turnovers, had more fast break points, had more points in the paint, less fouls. But when you shoot 37% from the field and 17% from 3 point range, that's how you lose basketball games. Clemson is a gritty team. They definitely, I did not have them. I don't know if I had them getting out the first round. To be honest, I don't remember what their first round matchup was. But I think I had the 11 seed beating them
Yeah,
in my bracket. Um, just a tough, gritty team from the looks of it. I watched their last that round of 32. I watched that game that they played. And they just are a tough, hard-nosed basketball team. Um, and you said it the whole time, man. You said it last episode. All it takes for you to have one off night. All it takes for you to have one off night in this tournament, in this format. Caleb Love 0 for 9 from 3 point range, and obviously hindsight 2020. If he hits 2 of those, they win the game. He hits 3 of those, they win the game. But he went cold, and was it the layoff? You play those 2 games really back to back, and then you have the 5-day layoff. Was it the layoff, or what was it? But Arizona picked the wrong night to have an off shooting night, and Clemson was hot and found a way to get it done. I guess we were due for something like this because there really haven't been a whole lot of upsets throughout the tournament so far. You had NC State, you had Oakland, but outside of those, man, like you really haven't had any of those upsets, or even there really isn't a Cinderella story this year. I guess you could say North Carolina State, but I mean, North Carolina State won 5 games in 5 days to win their conference tournament. So they seem to be a pretty solid basketball team. So I think we were kind of due for an upset like this. I definitely had Arizona playing UNC in the Elite Eight to be able to go to the Final Four. But Clemson had other plans. But you can't shoot 37%, 17% from 3 point range and expect to win the game. So that's ultimately what it came down to. Because in everything else, statistically, Arizona basically won.
mm.
Arizona basically won, except for shooting.
Yeah. It's hard to. It is, man. It's really hard to win the game when you shoot, especially from deep. When you shoot 17%,
Mm-hmm.
when on average they shoot around, I think about 37, 38%, which is
Yeah.
like in the top half of the country. So the fact that it wasn't like it was bad shots that they were taking, or it was against the shot clock or anything like that. Some of those looks they had really were good looks. It's just it didn't fall for them, and
Mm-hmm.
like we're saying now, it just takes one bad night to where the shots ain't falling, and you just hope that it's not you and your team at this point, because there's really no turning back, at this
Mm-hmm.
point, because you've gotten this far. Now people expecting, okay, this is a team. A lot of people kind of did have a team like Arizona going to the Final Four, maybe even
Mm-hmm.
possibly competing for a national championship. So, as the run is going and they're getting here to the Sweet 16, they're in Los Angeles, you're thinking, okay, you know, they should, make it through against Clemson. And then who knows what happens if they end up getting Alabama or North Carolina. And then, okay, cool, we're on to Arizona. And on top of that, they would have had the home crowd. The fact that the
Mm-hmm.
Final Four is going to be out that way and everything like that. And it's just the one night where the shots didn't fall for them. It
Yeah.
happens. And, and Clemson took advantage of it, man. I mean, they got out to a hot start. I think at one point had like a double-digit lead up early on Arizona. Yeah, they clawed back, but like I said, every time they pretty much kind of clawed back and they would take the lead, Clemson would go on another 6-0, 7-0 run to where now they're back up by 6, back up by 8, and they just kind of kept that gap. And and eventually towards the end, they were kind of trading the buckets, but lapses defensively for Arizona to where guys were just leaking out to where not only are they getting a chance to run free and they get the bucket to extend the lead, they're getting fouled. So now we're getting the and 1-2 to add on to more points, which just makes it even harder for you to really kind of cut into that lead when if you're scoring 2 or 3, but they coming back with that same 2 or 3, you know, what can you do? It's hard to win. It's hard to win games when you're not shooting the ball well, and then you also are not stopping the team defensively either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of things for it, at least in key moments. A lot of things for it just didn't work in Arizona's favor. But you got to give Clemson um,
No,
a
for
lot of
sure.
credit, right? You got to give them a lot of
Yeah.
credit, like you said, right? Some people felt like that they wouldn't even make it out of the first round because of the matchup that they had. I think they played New
Let me
Mexico
look.
in that first round. So, a lot of people was thinking, oh, that could be right there, that 6-11 seed where the 6-11 matchup where the upset could happen. But they beat New Mexico by 21, if I'm not mistaken. Um, beat them
Yeah, New Mexico. Yep.
beat them by 21.
21. Yep.
Then you thought, okay, they got past New Mexico, but they can't surely beat Baylor, right? Okay, they prove you wrong and go out there and do it
Mm-hmm.
again and get to the Sweet 16. And then tonight, you think, okay, well, look, this is Caleb Love, Arizona, all those guys. They can shoot the ball pretty well, and the shots didn't fall for them, but it worked. It worked well in Clemson's favor, and now they get a chance to meet, a team, possibly a team they've already beaten before in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
or facing, another great, uh, good basketball program here in recent history with Alabama. So, another tough test right there. As a 6 seed, not too many times where the seeds, that low a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times aren't making it in when there's still some higher seeds left. You compare from last year to this year, where you notice the top 2 seeds in every bracket in every
Ooh.
region, were pretty much kind of gone, and now this year the top 2 seeds in every region at least made it to the Sweet 16. So,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it was kind of not as much parity
Mm-hmm.
this year compared to last year, to where it's like, okay, this is a team that's coming out of nowhere that's really making a run. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, there's no real like Cinderella, there's not a mid-major school or anything like that
Yeah.
that's pretty much left. I mean, I guess technically the only mid-major that's left is Gonzaga, but at this point, they're only a mid-major because of their conference, not because of,
Yeah.
who they are. Like, I mean, they're year in and year because they would made like 8, 9 straight Sweet 16. So that's
Something like
telling me
that.
they
Yeah.
making it out of the first weekend, at least getting to the second weekend year in and year out. So that's that. So yes, I mean it's a lot of the big schools is pretty much still left for the most part. So um, it's been a lot of chalk. So like you
Mm-hmm.
said, we were kind of due for somebody was probably gonna mess it up somewhere down the long. Eventually, we would think it's
Eventually,
gonna
someone's gonna
have
get
to
got.
happen.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be one of these top. No way. Because I'm even though I kind of did it in my bracket, I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, I got all these 1s and 2s getting to Sweet 16s, Elite Eights. I'm like,
Ain't no way
nah.
that's gonna happen.
you
Somebody gonna
know.
blow it.
And I'm like,
Somebody's gonna
somebody's
blow
gonna
it.
mess this up. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like kind of knew eventually something like this was going to have to happen. This was going to have to give, and it is what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
man, like I said, you got to give Clemson the credit. Congratulations, moving on to the Elite Eight. And then on the East region side of the bracket there, man, the defending champions, man, the UConn Huskies, another double-digit win. This one by 30, 82-52 over San Diego State, which was a rematch of last year's national championship game. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of, crazy to see that happen, to see that again to where these two teams meet up. And, I mean, it was kind of almost similar to what happened in the championship game, man. It was just UConn size and strength, man, just too big, too powerful, too athletic all around for San Diego State, man. And
Mm-hmm.
they just talk about UConn, man, how they've been just looking pretty much almost unstoppable here these first 3 rounds. Granted, I get it. As a 1 seed, playing the 16, they're supposed to do that. Play the Northwestern team who, really it was offensively challenged because, we even saw that
Mm-hmm.
in the first round matchup they had against FAU. And then, playing a solid San Diego State team, but just knowing like they were better. So I get it. They might not have not faced like if you do want to say stiff competition just yet. But I
Yeah.
also feel like they just handling the business they're supposed to handle as a defending champion, man. They're not taking anyone lightly, man. What's your take on UConn so far?
You said it about their size, man. They out rebounded San Diego State by 21. Out rebounded them by 21. Shot the three, 38% and 46% from the field. I mean, they just seems like, once again, I wasn't able to watch the game, but it seems like they were able to do whatever they wanted to do against San Diego State. And obviously, by the outcome, you win a game by 30 points. You pretty much did whatever you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. I know they had three starters in double figures. The 3 guards, respectively, I believe, at 18, 17, and 18. Let me check real quick. 18, 17, 16. Spencer had 18. Newton had 17. And then Castle had 16. Um, they're looking dangerous right now. When you get to this point in the tournament, you don't see a lot of 30-point wins. You don't see a lot of 30-point blowouts. Obviously, for San Diego State, um, once again, sometimes it's your night, sometimes it's not. They shot 5 for 22 from 3-point range. I imagine they shoot better than that on the year. I only shot 10 free throws with 50% from the free throw line. But UConn, when you out rebound a team by 21, and you shoot 38% from 3, I guess that's a recipe to potentially win by 30. When I saw that, just initial thought when I saw that, I was I don't know. I don't know who it'll end up playing, but it's not looking good. It's not looking good for whoever UConn has that Elite Eight matchup between yeah between Illinois and Iowa State. I don't know. I picked UConn to make it to the championship game. So right now I'm feeling pretty good about my pick as far as that bracket goes, because I don't know. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that they're gonna repeat, because it's gonna be tough. But right now they're making it look like they are on track to go back to back.
Yeah, that like definitely that's what it is. I don't know like on the scale of 1 to 10 to say how confident I would be in them and repeating. It would probably be
Mm-hmm.
like at a 6.5, just
Yeah.
because it is tough to do. But I mean, if they are playing like how they've been playing so far in this tournament, I don't know who in the hell is gonna beat them. I mean, they got
Yeah.
everything you want, right? They got great guard play. Cam Spencer, like you said, 18 points tonight.
Mm-hmm.
The size is just crazy, right? Klingen, I mean, dude is almost an immovable object at times
Mm-hmm.
down there in the post and in the paint, man. It's hard to score them. They're very tenacious on defense. They're very active on the defensive end, which sometimes, well, not sometimes, most times end up leading into easy transition points for them. So some of these, buckets that they're getting is not even setting up in the half court in the offense. This is just really strictly their defense leading them in the offense, man. It's just very aggressive, very tenacious. But they pretty much play like the way that they are instilled from their coach, man. I mean, Coach Hurley, Dan Hurley is that way, man. Tenacious, aggressive, real, just all up in your face. So it's just kind of like they're just embodying pretty much their coach and how he is. So you can just tell, man, they on the road. But I mean, their average margin of victory right now is 28.6 points. I mean, so they pretty much dubbing you automatically.
Boy, get off the
they,
sticks. Get off
yeah,
the sticks.
they pretty much dubbing you automatically so far in this
Mm-hmm.
tournament, man. And which is crazy because that's the same way that they were last year too. Even
Mm-hmm.
like everybody was getting upset, but them sitting at a 4 seed, they were just rolling through the tournament. Like they were just rolling through, bro. I mean, I can't recall where they had a close game last year either. At least
Yeah. I don't know.
by what standards of you call a close game. I mean, so it's just it's wild to me how they're the way that they just going. And I was sitting up there just watching it as I'm watching both games as it's going on, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking and I'm just like, once again, if they play like that, I don't know who can beat them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you would have to play the perfect, I mean, perfect game to beat them, because a lot of times they're not going to beat themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing about UConn too, right? They're not going to beat themselves. So it's kind of like, what can you do to make sure that you play at the best of your ability to just have a chance at UConn, right? So it's just kind of like, I don't know, man. But to me, they're the cream of the crop, and rightfully so, just because they are the defending champs, but also at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, just the way that how they've been looking, right? I mean, no one has, to me, I think they're the only team so far in the tournament that hasn't had a legit like hiccup or look like, oh gosh, a top seed
Yeah.
could fall. I mean, like, because Houston, I
Houston had
mean, if
one. It
if
was
if if there was another 30 seconds maybe left for Texas A&M, they might would
they
have
might.
caught them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Houston had to slip up. I guess you could say Purdue is kind of right there. They haven't had too much trouble
Mm-mm.
so
We'll see
far
what they
either.
do. We'll see
But
what they do against Gonzaga.
we'll see what they do against Gonzaga. Um, Tennessee was a little sluggish against Texas
Yeah.
the last round. Um, Creighton had to go into 2 overtimes with Oregon. Carolina was down double digits early in
Mm-hmm.
the first half against Michigan State. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of teams were that we might have on there to say, they have a chance. They've already kind of had like their struggles and mishaps to where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're a little shaky, but Purdue and UConn, we have yet to say that about them. So right now, man, especially UConn, they are head and shoulders above everybody else for sure. Man, but now when you look into the games going on right now, I mean, quick updates. North Carolina holding on to a 3-point lead against Alabama, 70 to
Mm-hmm.
67. They're about a little under halfway there now through the second half, so getting close to that clutch time
Mm-hmm.
there in Los Angeles. There, uh, second half just kind of got started a little bit underway in that Illinois Iowa State game. Low scoring as expected, 36 to 30. Which is, kind of weird because Illinois is one of the better offensive teams, but Iowa State are one of the better defensive teams. So it's kind of going in Iowa State's favor, but they're just not getting the points on the board right now. So
Can't
um,
hit a shot. Can't hit shots right now.
can't hit a shot right now. So um, if the leads right now holds up, that'll be Illinois advancing to taking on UConn. And then there will be North Carolina taking on Clemson for a little ACC rematch out there in those brackets. And then tomorrow, we'll see the South and the Midwest get locked up there too. Marquette, 2 seed, going up against the, like I said, the lone double digit seed here in North Carolina State. Like you said, not really like a Cinderella, but obviously they've been like the talk. They've been like the talk of the tournament a little bit, man. DJ Burns, getting his shine, man. Kind of almost like Zach Randolph reincarnated.
Yeah,
Pretty much, man.
for real.
We just mentioned about Purdue, with Zach Edey and those guys. They've been rolling too, playing up against a sneaky Gonzaga team. And then of course Duke, Houston. Houston is hot. Duke is kind of getting back into what we thought that they could be for sure. And I think, to me, the most intriguing game of the night tomorrow night is that Creighton and Tennessee matchup for sure. What
That could be
game
a
are
high
you more
scoring game,
interested
man.
in? Yeah, what game are you most interested in for tomorrow night? Second half of the Sweet 16s.
I think Duke and Houston. I think that's definitely a game that I'm looking forward to. Just want to see how Houston bounces back. You granted they were in a tough game with Texas A&M, but they found a way to win. And sometimes you need those types of games to be able to kind of refocus and get your mind back right heading into next round, next game, whatever it might be. So interested to see how Houston comes out and attacks this game because, like you said, Duke has been playing better. They've kind of gone back on track, after the ACC tournament, loss and everything. So, um, interested to see how Houston handles Duke, how they handle, I won't say the pressure, but how do they rebound after that game? What do they look like? Do they come out lackluster, or do they come out like one of the better teams in the country? Because they have been one of the best teams in the country all year. They were number one for a long period of time throughout the season. So, are they going to look like the number one team in the country tomorrow? That's what I'm interested to see. So, I would say the Duke Houston game for sure is the one that I'll be paying attention to, or the most interested in. The most interested in.
Yeah, like I mentioned myself already. That Creighton Tennessee matchup is the one I'm most interested in too, just because both of these teams didn't play their best in those second round matchups. Granted, there weren't easy opponents that they had. Oregon is no slouch.
Yeah,
Texas is no slouch, for sure. So, you know, Tennessee struggled shooting the ball
they
a
did.
little bit in that second round matchup, and I just think they can't afford to shoot it like that tomorrow against Creighton, because
No.
Creighton is one of the few teams, who got the best of UConn. So, and I mean,
Yeah,
they
and they
lit
gonna
them up.
shoot the ball,
Yeah, they lit
and
them
they
up.
gonna shoot.
They gonna shoot it. Yeah, they gonna shoot it. So, um, Tennessee can't have a game like they had against Texas, man. They
Mm,
just, thankfully, Texas, sometimes they just have those games to where they can't get anything going offensively either, and Tennessee
mm,
did just enough to kind of squeak by. I don't know if they can do that again this game against Creighton, man, because this is a
mm,
team. Even you saw it going into 2 overtimes. They got enough firepower to definitely keep that ball moving and putting that ball in the hoop, because
yeah.
they can do that for sure. So that's my most interesting matchup there for that one, just to see what happens as they get ready for that and going into the Elite Eight, man. So
Mm,
um, can't wait to see what happens for the rest of the night tonight.
yeah.
Tomorrow is gonna be crazy, and then not only for the men's but for the women's, man. Tomorrow night for them as well, or tomorrow afternoon,
Yeah.
they kick off their Sweet 16 matchups. Man, you'll see, for the most part, in the women's bracket, it's been pretty chalk there too.
Mm,
We, the lone upset that you had was in the first round was MTSU over Louisville, and then pretty much the long upset we got in the second round was Duke coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were down by like 15 at one point against Ohio State, and they
Came back
came
and won.
back and
Yeah.
won that one. So it's been, like I said, it's been kind of chalk for the most part. I mean, when the 4 and the 5s play each other, I don't really call those upsets because I mean they're
Evenly
literally
matched.
it's
Yeah.
evenly matched. So there's a few 5 seeds in there and everything, like a couple of 5 seeds in there, but for the most part, everything is chalk. You got Oregon State taking on Notre Dame. Indiana, who had a crazy back and forth game with Oklahoma in that second round, taking on South Carolina. North Carolina State had a crazy game against Tennessee.
Dude, I
that,
thought Tennessee was gonna pull that one out, dude. I thought
that
they
was
was
a
gonna pull it out.
crazy.
Them girls at NC State, they weren't playing. They
Yeah,
found a way. They found a way to
yeah,
pull it out. They
yeah.
found a way.
That was a crazy game, man. Stanford had to go into overtime
Mm-hmm.
with Iowa State, man. With Cameron Brink on the bench, fouled out. Because I was busy watching like the men's game for a little bit because it was still kind of going on, and I loaded. I was like, oh, Iowa State and Stanford still playing, so I'm like, I go and I turn to it, and I'm watching, and I'm like, because you can't miss her, so I'm like, where's Cameron Brink? And I said it out loud, and my lady is like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's one of the girls that play for Stanford, and I'm like, I don't see her out there, and then I find out like, oh damn, she fouled out. I'm like, oh. How they gonna put this out? But man, hey, man, Kiki had a game. She went for
Yeah.
40. So they, this is what they got there. And then of course you got Gonzaga in Texas there on Friday, and then of course Saturday you'll see Caitlin Clark in Iowa going up against Colorado. The defending national champs after a shaky first half against
Mm-hmm.
MCSU kind of got it together with maybe the help of some questionable calls, but got it together in the second half
Yeah.
to pull out the victory.
Good fight.
They got to go ahead and take on UCLA. Juju Watkins and USC taking on Baylor. Like we said, we mentioned Duke put out the upset win going against Paige Buckers and UConn and those girls there, man. So the Sweet 16 there is gonna be crazy as well. Man, any of those games that you got that you can't wait for, that you looking to, that you want to tap in the most with?
Well, I mean, the easy answer obviously is the South Carolina Indiana game. Definitely gonna be looking forward to that matchup and see what that looks like. Um, but Stanford looks like they can be had, man. Like I don't know, NC State ain't no slouch, man. Like NC State ain't no slouch. So Stanford better come with it, cause NC State, I think they can make they can give excuse me, they can give Stanford some problems. They can give Stanford some problems for Friday. So those games, and then Saturday, um, interesting. Colorado, man, like Colorado is interesting. Colorado is
Very,
interesting. Now,
very.
if people don't remember, first game, opening night, first game of the season, LSU was number one in the country, and Colorado, I believe, unranked, and they go down to LSU and beat LSU. Colorado is not a bad basketball team, and once again, Iowa is they've been treading on thin ice. First round, they kind of were flirting with it and figured it out, and then against West Virginia, I get the notification once again I'm getting out of practice, and I get the update. It's a tie ball game with 3-4 minutes left. I was like, hey. Obviously they found a way to do it, but they've played in some tight ones. It's bites you.
Right.
How much longer before it comes back to bite you? It might not be against Colorado, but it could be in that next game against LSU or UCLA. Like those two teams. But I think that Colorado, man, I think Colorado can give Iowa a run. And the way Iowa's looked, they haven't looked like um, the number one seed. They have definitely the team that we've seen throughout the year. So that Colorado Iowa matchup is something that I'll be paying attention to Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you with NC State and Stanford. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's close. Like I've already said, I got NC State in my Final Four, so I think they can pull it off,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Because dude, they got some hoopers, man, for
Nah,
sure.
for
I
sure. Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
obviously we know what Stanford has year in and year out. They're
Mm-hmm.
always there, especially. But I know they want to go on back on another run because I know last year they got upset in the second round, against Ole Miss, so
Mm-hmm.
got their tournament kind of cut short a little bit. So I know they want to get on a little bit of a road to redemption to where they could, if seedings hold up, talking about a possible matchup here with Texas, in that Elite Eight matchup there, if they come out on top. And then for me, Saturday it's Baylor and USC. Uh Baylor is sneaky too, man. Like kind of how you talk about with Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
Baylor is kind of sneaky too. You know what I'm saying? Like I know like things may be a little different now because Coach McCulkey isn't no longer there at Baylor, and you kind of used to them kind of making those deep runs and everything like that, and you don't hear them as much like we kind of used to when Coach McCulkey was there. But they really haven't went anywhere. They're still one of the
Mm-hmm.
better programs in the country. Don't let that 5 seed really fool you. I mean,
Yeah.
they just so happen to be in a conference once again, like how the men's how the men's is the Big 12 and the women's is kind of the same way. They deal with a lot of solid teams, Texas, Kansas State, just to
Mm-hmm.
name a few that they got in there, man. So it's a lot of solid teams in that Big 12 conference in women's basketball too. So just they're used to it, right? Um, but this is another game, another step closer here for this USC squad. And we saw the way, we saw how Juju had another great game against Kansas. Kansas kind of helped them a little bit, turning the ball over a little bit too
Mm-hmm.
much, but you know that's what you're supposed to do as a 1 seed. You take advantage of that. It makes it easier for you, man, and it is what it is. So that's definitely the games that I can't wait, that I'm looking forward to. Now, I I don't know if you had noticed this or not, but I noticed on Twitter, man, there was a lot of chatter about the officiating on some of those women's games, that it hasn't been that great, and also wondering about what do they do in the future as far as um the way that they schedule these games. Because obviously the thing about it is the first two rounds, what they kind of do pretty much is they let the top, I think they let the top 4 seeds host pretty much at their um at their campus location or wherever they play it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes they feel like maybe it's getting a little home cooking, and they don't kind of go neutral, kind of like how the men's games do.
Mm-hmm.
um I think at one point they used to do it, but I think what it was they wasn't selling
Yeah.
as much as probably like the men's were. And I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'm not trying to like talk bad on it or anything like that, but I don't think it was. And I think they ended up saying, what, hey, top 4 seeds each region will let you host the first two rounds, and then we can worry about travel then, because yeah, sure, maybe some teams might have to travel a little bit longer, or go slow, but kind of for the most part, no one was really too far away from where they could be to where the dishes wasn't too bad. I mean, like going from Murfreesboro to Baton Rouge wasn't that bad of, probably that ain't that bad of a flight. Vanderbilt had to go to Blacksburg just because of with the play in, because of where they were going to be at. That's the region that they were in. It is what it is. But I mean, I guess, do you feel like the women should try to go back to having just a strictly neutral for all sites, or do you feel like that's a good thing that they do it to where the top 4 seeds in each region pretty much kind of host those first 2 rounds. I think it gives it like a real great feel, in my opinion. I think it gives it something different. But um, don't get me wrong, there was some couple times where you feel like, okay, it could be a little home cooking going on and everything like that. But I don't know. Do you think it's really that big of a deal? I mean, because we also seen the teams that's in there that are the home teams and have the home court that's not in the tournament anymore, i.e., Ohio State, Virginia Tech. I mean, they were hosting those first couple rounds, but both of those teams are gone. So
I don't know, man. I don't see it being that big of a deal. I actually caught myself asking that, which is crazy. I just caught myself asking, like, why do they do it like that? And I watched Don Staley's press conference earlier today, and they kind of mentioned that. And I think part of the reason why they do that is because it probably was hard to sell those tickets. You trying to go neutral and go to these arenas, and you're not selling any tickets. So you're probably losing money on on those games because people aren't coming out. And I think now with having those top 4 seeds host, it at least gives you an immediate draw because you know the hometown fans are gonna come out. They're gonna come out to the game regardless of what's going on. Um, and opposing teams fans will travel, especially if it's close enough. Yeah, the whole story. I can't remember the last name, but yeah, the mom, she daughter played for Tennessee and daughter played for North Carolina,
yeah,
and so they were in different regions. But Tennessee was playing at NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then North Carolina was playing down in Columbia. That's not too bad of a drive back and forth. She was able to get to both, get to those games back and forth, just doing that drive. So, um, I don't think it's an issue, man. I think it's cool. It's definitely different because we're not used to seeing that. But here in a minute, like we talking about all this playoff stuff, we about to see it in we about to see it in college football anyway. Like those first couple rounds are gonna be hosted at the highest seeds. Um, home
campus.
facility, home
Yeah,
stay, yeah,
yeah,
campus. So like, we're about to see it anyway. I don't think it's an issue. They're selling tickets, they're making money. I think as long as the women's game continues to grow and you continue to have these stars and stuff, they might think about going back to it. But to me, I think you're good with keeping it on those home campuses. It's just 2 games. It's one weekend.
yeah. Just the
Keep it on
weekend.
those keep it on those campuses for that weekend, and then go into your neutral site. So I'm fine with it. I don't have an issue with it at all, man. Be a top 4 seed, and then you get the host, and
Yeah,
then you don't have nothing to say.
I
So
I agree with you, bro. To me, I don't think it's as much of an issue as people would say. I get it. There were like, for example, with the LSU MTSU game, there were some things
hmm
that kind of did frustrate me. Where I'm like, okay,
yeah.
now y'all, but I think it was more. I don't think it's more so. I think that was more so of the officiating
hmm
more than it's, oh, just because they're at home they get these calls. I just think the officials, just some of the calls that they were making, it was just kind of like,
hmm
I would say the same thing on these neutral sites where, where the guys are playing, and I'm like, okay, look, some of this officiating y'all doing is just not that great.
Yeah.
But I think it works for the women's game right now. I mean, literally, because all they're doing, think about it, right? Like the the men's tournament, is neutral everywhere. The regions are in 4 literally different like places and everything
hmm
like that. And it's just kind of like it works because obviously fans are gonna travel for that and everything like that. But in the women's, I think it works the way it works for them, right? Top 4 seeds in each region. You host the first 2 rounds. You host the first
hmm
weekend, and literally you got 8 teams and technically in one place because they're just splitting it into 2 regions in one city. So there's a region 1 Albany, region 2 Portland, region 3 Portland, region 4 Albany. So it's just kind of like it's kind of all the same, and they're all there together, so it just makes it easier for travel too. That way, no one can say, "Well, we got to go all the way to here, we got to go all the way there," whatever, just to do this and everything like that. So, um, does it give like that team an advantage? Probably so, just because
Not
of
for sure.
them being
Mm-hmm.
being on their home court. But
There was an advantage in the LSU MT game. You heard it in the fans, man. Like
yeah,
that was just. I mean, it was loud. Like it was loud, like a LSU football game almost. Like it was definite. You could hear it through the TV, man. Like
literally.
they were going nuts in there,
I
dude.
think at one point, like the refs blew the whistle, and like I
You
don't
couldn't
even
hear
think
it.
they couldn't hear it because it was just
It was ridiculous. It was
so.
ridiculous.
I think, man, I think it's just part of it. Like I said, does it give that team the advantage? Yes, but at the end of the day, the game still has to be played. I mean, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
we mentioned there's been a couple of teams where they got upset on their home floor. So it it's neither here nor there for sure with it. But man, as we get ready to wrap up this episode, um, anything you got out here you want to say to the people, man?
No, man. Same as always. Continue to be safe. Continue to take care of yourself. Check in on your loved ones. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Hope everybody has a great Easter weekend. Whether you're doing Easter egg hunts, whatever that might be, whatever that entails. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Enjoy these games. Enjoy these games this weekend between today, tomorrow, between the men's and women's tournaments. If you have a baseball team, MLB, check that out. I'm gonna be on tap for another episode. This UNC Alabama game is tight right now.
It
Yeah,
is. It
we gonna
is.
see. We gonna see.
It
But
is for
that's it, man.
sure.
That's all I got.
Yeah, man. Same for me. As the usual, just keep liking and supporting the podcast, man. We appreciate it. Follow us on all the social medias. Um, man, love black women, cherish black women, protect black women. No means no.
No means no.
As we transition on fully into spring, I think we've gotten past all the cold weather, hopefully, for now, and just warm weather the rest of the way out here until we start complaining and say it's a little too hot.
There you go. There
when
you go.
when that comes, it's like, oh, we got warm weather, it's good. Then we're like, damn, man, it's too hot outside now.
It's humid, boy.
You know what I'm saying?
That sun out there leaning.
You know what I'm saying? For sure. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, happy Easter this upcoming weekend, man. Enjoy it. My daughter came home with a bag full of Easter eggs, full of
You already know
candy.
that
I'm like,
candy in there. You
oh
already
my
know it.
God. I'm like, bruh,
Mm-hmm.
what are we doing? I was just like, okay, whatever, man. It's cool. But man, yeah, that's really all I got to say, man. Just keep liking and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Follow us on all the social medias. And that's pretty much it. Until the next time, this has been another episode of the Easy Money Sports Podcast.
Peace.